Thanks everybody for coming out. Too often we get wrapped up in the day-to-day business, and we forget these truly special occasions in which you only get one chance to do it, and that is send somebody off on a good note, thanking them for their service to their country. About 23 years ago, and you're doing the math, and because Chaplain Manry said, wait a minute, 22 years of service, but Sergeant Larson showed up to basic training about 23 years ago, a little bit more than that. He did not get recycled 5 times, all right, so nothing like that. But he showed up at the same time I did to be a TI at Lackland in July of '94. And you're going to see some trends throughout his career as I talk about it, that he can be part of the Security Forces Museum. Not because you're that old, but just some of the things that he's done. First off, he came into what some of you may have known as a law enforcement specialist. Way back before we were merged, he came in as an LE troop, going through training at Lackland, and he graduated that course as an honor graduate, which is quite a feat. Those of you wearing the beret and the badge, you know what it's like to be an honor graduate out of Texas. Will take some serious work. So he started off his career with a bang as a law enforcement troop. He also went on to Fort Dix for Ground Combat Skills Level 1, another piece of history that we don't do anymore. We were talking about it just before now. If you've ever experienced the joy of riding in a cattle car, like they moved us around in Fort Dix, yeah, you truly are worthy of the title of defender. Got through all this training, first assignment, and you're going to see he's had some pretty good assignments here. Went off to MacDill Air Force Base. Not bad for a first assignment. Looking through his records, and looking what people had to say about him, he was setting the standard for excellence right off the bat. In his first EPR, he was identified as the sharpest installation entry controller in the entire unit. And that's a pretty big base down there. And when you think about what we have down there at CENTCOM, SOCOM, all of the headquarters that are down there, that's a pretty big gig down there. And not only that, not only did he look sharp out there on the unit, he was out there doing the job. I could go through countless accounts of his records where he nabbed people DUI, nabbed people with controlled substances, people that were barred from the base when he's out there on the gate. So not only was he looking good, he was getting that job done. He really earned that title of defender and represented us well and set the standard for the airmen that would come after him. Let's see. While he was there at MacDill, he deployed to Camp X-Ray in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and shut it until it closed down temporarily, and we reopened it, and it's still open there. But so he had sort of an interesting deployment down there. Pre-Global War on Terror, they had a different mission that was going on down there, and Scott was a part of that mission down there. When he came back, he was handpicked to beef up security at the Special Ops Command during a period of increased threat, for which he got his first decoration, a Joint Service Achievement Medal. And so working for SOCOM down there at MacDill, thrown into an environment and definitely exceeded standards down there. He's started off good. He was there from '94 to '97, and then they said, all right, enough of this tropical stuff, enough of these beaches, so we'll send you someplace equally nice, Thule, Greenland. All right, so he got out of the warm weather and he went right up to Greenland to the 12th Security Forces Squadron as a desk sergeant and as a security controller. Right off the bat, it's a short tour up there, so you really got to jump in and make an impact fast, and he did. Quickly taking on responsibility as one of Thule's emergency services team leaders, keeping off the polar bears off the base. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Most notably, though, probably during that year, is he was the first choice to be part of the honor guard honoring Queen Marguerite II of Denmark when she visited Thule Air Base down there. So again, put out in front, he's representing. He's setting the standard, not just for security forces this time, but for airmen in general. So he really was that ambassador for the Air Force. But most notably is where he picked up his nickname while he was at Greenland. Anybody know his nickname?
Rooster!
And that's because he was rocking the waves as a DJ, as a radio DJ there in Thule, Greenland. In his spare time when he wasn't honor guard in Queens and kicking indoors with the EST team. So he made the most out of that year. About that time, he thought, you know what, maybe this Air Force thing isn't for me. But he got orders to Turkey, which I think was a good deal, right? He got orders to Turkey, and he had to extend one more year because his enlistment was coming up. He had to extend a year to take that assignment in Turkey. And I think looking back now, that might be one of the best decisions you made. I think you guys would agree. So he went to Turkey. just for 1 year to Izmir Air Station, where he was a security controller. And then for there, obviously he met his lovely bride is there. And but then he still called it quits from the Air Force. He actually got out for a while. Got out, was going to go on to bigger and better things, and then realized, you know what? The Air Force thing is pretty good. I'm pretty good at it. It's a good way to take care of a family. And I think I'm going to start this family, and we're going to get back in this Air Force. Is that about the way it went? Pretty much? All right. So then he came back in the Air Force, got married, came back in the Air Force, and got assigned to another garden spot, Mountain Home Air Force Base, Idaho. So keep track here. He pointed it out when he was telling me about where all he's been. He started out in the 6th Security Police Squadron, and then now he comes back to Mountain Home to the 366th. The math will catch up to yourself later. All right, so he got right into the mix. He was assigned there. He came back with a vengeance. He was assigned into what was called the Force Protection Flight. Now, way back before the 820th Security Forces Group was all headquartered at Moody and had all the people assigned, they had certain bases with a flight that was assigned to the 820th. So that when the 820th could ever get activated, they'd pull the flights from all these bases and they'd be gone. And it was a pretty big deal to get assigned to one of those flights because you trained, you did a lot of PT, got a lot of schools, you did a lot of TDYs back before we were deploying all the time. And Scott was thrown right into there as a newly returning airman, scoring an outstanding, exceptionally well qualified on his first QC back home. From there, he deployed to PSAD in Saudi Arabia. Again, this is all pre-big hostilities. And he also graduated Airman Leadership School as number 2 in the class as a distinguished graduate. So you're seeing the trends there from tech school. You're seeing at ALS, Sergeant Larson was out there doing good things. So the stuff that he mentors people to do and that he shows you to do the right thing, it's more than just him telling you what to do. He's actually done it. He walks the walk out there. So for the airmen that are out here, it's good to see you all out here. Sergeant Larson is definitely one that you can look up to, and if you follow in his footsteps, you'll definitely be going in the right track. And probably the most important thing at Mountain Home, what happened, Jasmine? That's when you showed up, right? All right. Jasmine was born in Mountain Home, making that a pretty memorable assignment. And then, time to pick up and move again, like the Air Force likes to do, and he went off to another great assignment in Lakenheath, England, to the 48th Security Forces Squadron. As soon as he got there, quickly forward deployed to Fairford, England, where he worked with the local constables. He worked with the Ministry of Defense police to counter not only secure bombers that were forward deployed right after the GWAT started, but also countering up to 2,000 protesters, making sure that things were quelled quietly, professionally, just sort of his everyday demeanor. He was a key person in making sure, A, that the mission got done, and that things were nice and quiet, kept under the radar. So, still doing good things out there. He deployed, when he was in Lakenheath, he deployed to Ali Al Salim, Kuwait, where he led convoys to and from Kuwait City International Airport. If you've ever been on the R&R bird out there, he was one of those guys in the gun truck running you down to the airport so that you could get home to see your loved ones or get further down range, whichever it was. He also racked up, it says here, 15 combat hours as a flyaway security team member going in and out of Iraq and the AOR from Kuwait. So a little bit of everything he's done to this point in his career. But it's not over yet. He came back to Lakenheath and got his first staff job as a Stanival evaluator. Everybody knows Stanival, they wear the black hat, but not only they wear the black hat, they're some of the sharpest people out there, making sure that we are all meeting the standards. He did that job, and he did it well. And I know personally that if you can survive working for Chief Bobby Henson, you must be doing something right. So notice that name in there as well. So after Lakenheath, he had that little bit of stink on him from the Force Protection Flight, so he up and moved to the 823rd Security Forces at Moody. He got into the mothership, the Security Forces group down there. That's when the deployments really picked up. Back up. What did I forget from Lakenheath? You. All right. So he picked up Logan along the way before they went back to Wolverine. Thank you. Before they went back to the States, where he went to Moody to the Security Forces group down there when the 823rd was still the 820th was still sort of new. They didn't know what they wanted to be when they grow up. I still think that may be the case, but anyway. While he was there for 4 years, man, if you name a country in the Middle East, he's been there. Kuwait, Jordan, Oman, Bahrain. Let's see, where else has he been? Most notably probably is 193 days to that sunny spot called Camp Bucca, Iraq, where he was doing detainee ops and area security operations. 193 days out there. where he earned a 179th Light Infantry Brigade's combat shoulder insignia for his work with the Army out there taking the fight to the enemy, making sure that our people were kept safe. When he came back, some of the duties he performed there, he was a squad leader, he was a unit deployment manager, and he was what's called a combat technology instill. He was on that cutting edge of the techie stuff out there, which helped him out when he got here, working installation security. But there's a phrase out there, some of you may know, that only the best go where? North. Chief? North. Only the best go north. So where was his next assignment? Minot Air Force Base, North Dakota. Minot, where as a flight chief, he was recognized personally from the Security Forces Group Commander as an outstanding performer, and as a leader, he led his flight to a string of individual awards, and vaulted end-of-course exams and stand-up scores to the highest in the group. And when you're talking 1,000 cops up there, that's pretty impressive out there. They're all behind Sir Larson's leadership. Led the security efforts during the historic floods in the summer of 2011. Not only keeping up with the normal security, but helping out with that disaster up there. And he led the wing to the best missile wing in the Air Force and a UCI Excellent. And if you've been reading current events back then, you know that was pretty tough to do. And the trouble that Minot had, Scott was a big part of getting them back to where they need to be. All right? And I know we got some Minot warriors out here as well, too. So, he left his mark in Minot. I think he was ready to get out of the cold weather. I don't know if it worked exactly right, but he left there and ended up in Osan, Korea. So he's hit all the hot spots. If you think about where cops go, in the AOR, Minot, Korea, he's hit them all. And then throw Florida and Greenland in the mix. He's all right. He was there from 13 to 14, led his flight through not only the daily grind associated with Korea and all the exercises, but also led POTUS support. When the POTUS came out there, when the president came to visit, he led the security detail for that. Linking up with 67 different agencies and making sure that everything was all squared away and good to go in that hotspot region. He also led the flight to a highly effective rating during ORE, and they named the flight. He was put in charge of a brand new flight, and the name of the flight was Elephant Flight. And he says that the reason they did that is because elephants are strong, they're loyal, and they always stick together as a pack. And he said the flight really stuck to us. So you don't think of that. But as soon as he mentioned that, I said, that makes sense, because that's what we do as defenders. We stick together, and we take care of each other. Then that brings us to where we are today, 2015. Initially, he was put in, when he got to Anderson, he was put in the installation security. A lot of the big buildup we see going on with the Marines, a lot of the new construction, he had his hands in, making sure that it was meeting standards, making sure it was meeting all the force protection and the UFC requirements. Scott's had a big hand in that behind the scenes this time, making sure things are getting done out there, but also mentoring the troops in the section back there as well. Ensuring the safety and security of DoD resources. Some things across the board from what we've seen, in addition to the awards, in addition to the accolades and the medals. A common trend you see over the 22 years of Scott's career is always giving more. He's been giving back to his airmen, he's been giving back to his base, whether it's through mentoring, whether it's through leading Toastmasters, taking classes and then turning around and teaching those classes, taking that knowledge and sharing it with others to make people better. And not necessarily just better airmen, but to make folks better people. And that's something that I think, one thing that sticks with me is I was always impressed, Scott, with your ability to take a group of people that may be in turmoil, maybe stuff going on, and actually just tone things down and keep people going and motivate people and mentor folks. And that's something that's definitely going to be missed for a little bit. Because I know that people that you've mentored and that you've impacted will carry on in your tradition, so it's going to keep rippling throughout the pond because of what you've done now. He stepped up when he needed to lead the S4 section, has done great things for the unit and the base. For the senior NCOs, for everybody that's out there, like I said earlier, if there's one person you could look up to and say, hey, who would I like to be like or shoes to follow in? Master Sergeant Scott Larson, those would be some shoes to follow that you would never go in the wrong direction. So Scott, I'm from one defender to another. I appreciate your service. Azair, Logan, Jasmine, I appreciate your sacrifice. In a few minutes, you get to have them back. We borrowed them for a while, but I know you guys have got great plans to go on and spend some time in Europe, spend some time back home in Turkey, and experience life and I'll tell you something, you've earned it, you deserve it, and the Air Force come Monday, it's going to be a little bit different, because you're not going to be here. But I will say that though you're going to be gone, the Air Force is going to be better for you having been here, and I want to thank you for that. So I think you're ready to get moving. I think it's time to get this retirement going, shall we?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do this. Thank you.